Here we go.
Okay.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Albie, guess what?
What?
Somebody's off my list after like 7 years.
Your list of people that you want to die?
No.
Oh.
I
What?
listed people who, back when I was straight, I would make love to.
Oh, okay.
AOC is off, dude. Did you see that video of her?
No.
She's like hulking now. She's huge.
Really?
Oh, yeah, man. Yeah, there's a video of her talking to a woman who's far smaller, and it's got her from the side. She's like Rashida Tlaib now. I'm serious. She's like, this isn't borderline. She's not who she was. And I'm a fat, and I understand that, people get fat and skinny. That's fine. But she's just not who she was. You know?
I don't know if I'm finding the video, but okay. That's too bad. I liked her attractive.
I know. Hold on, I'll find it for you. AOC.
So still no progress on the sexuality front?
No.
I mean, I know AOC's not helping you, but nothing?
No. So I'll send that. I'm sending this to you right now. AOC's not helping me, and no. There's nothing there. I saw the new girl, Carl's Jr.'s girl, a blonde, and I could feed. It's almost as if when your hand is amputated, you can feel it sometimes. I could feel where that would have got me going, it gotten me excited, but it didn't whatsoever. Watch the AOC thing. You're gonna be stunned. Watch. I'll play the audio so people can hear it.
The amount of misinformation that has exploded because people are chasing retweets of a lie has been really painful.
Wait for the wide shot.
Like, we are, especially in terms of social media, we are on the platforms of billionaires. And these billionaires,
no, Alice.
She's in a puffy shirt.
Modify
She's not
these
in a puffy shirt. She's a huge person now. It's fine. I'm not being mean. It's just fine.
I don't know.
She wouldn't be on the list anyway because nobody's on the list anymore.
Well, it's too bad. Not even the Carl's Jr. So Carl's Jr., because Trump has made America great again now, is bringing back hot people in Super Bowl ads.
Right. And this girl, Kisbit Bizzle or whatever, is hot influencer.
TikTok influencer Alex Earl.
Right. Yeah.
I feel like our daughter has told me about her.
Oh, really?
I think she said like skinny jeans are back or something.
Okay.
Recently,
Either way, it's neither here nor there.
Yeah, right. Anyway, but they're promoting a hangover burger. She's in a bikini.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess they had in 2017 they ditched the ads with hot models saying that they wanted to tell the broader story of their offering, but now they're going back.
Going back because guys like chicks and burgers.
Because hot people look good.
So I want to start somewhere else. So this has been such a watershed period of time for the media and culture, etc. That, and actually, this plays into what we were just talking about, is that, so CNN now doesn't know what to do. CNN is essentially been closed down.
Right.
But
they just haven't told the employees
The formalities haven't happened. So but in the meantime, they're just trying to see what works, which usually means Scott Jennings. They've also run out of a lot of talent there. So they're relying on slay queen women to claim racism. They're going to that last vestige that they think may still work. Maybe we can own this, whatever. So a couple of these girls were on in last day, and I think it's amazing. It is so like wholly cruel what American progressive culture has done to black women.
It's embarrassing for everybody.
It's embarrassing. So listen to this, Alice.
We had Condoleezza Rice a few short years ago. We've seen awesome black women. Like, they're out there. They exist. We don't have to do this and pretend that this is what's on offer from the black community.
Right. And I think Abby Phillip does a nice job, even though she doesn't want to. And I think she's beautiful, actually, and elegant on TV. although she always tries to run away from heat when things get good on her show, but she doesn't know what she's doing. That's fine. But this is Carly Champion, who's some ESPN chick or some sports chick, and listen to her.
It's about making sure that there is white supremacy in this country. And if we're honest, we will say that. It is about making sure we will make sure that people who DEI is really all these code words. You used to use woke. I asked you to define what woke meant. You couldn't really define it for me. Tell me what it means again.
Woke ideology is taking extreme views of American culture and trying to tear down America from the inside out and go outside of our cultural norms and invade every corporation, university, and other institutions.
What is DEI?
That's incorrect.
Tell me that's incorrect. But what is DEI? Tell me again.
Diversity.
By the way, his definition, they just deemed to be incorrect. That's incorrect.
But they don't have a definition either.
No, but it's not that one. It's not the one that assigns responsibility to anybody. So what is DEI?
Like,
equity and inclusion, and trying to guarantee outcomes instead of guarantee opportunity.
Trump's cabinet looks like DEI.
I was speaking, and I could just finish. I do want us to not get off the rails because
she just said we're all white supremacists. We got to address this, don't we?
Saying a whole swath of voters and saying they voted because they're racist or misogynist, not because their pocketbook.
Those were my words, yours. But go ahead.
Okay, but
you said it was about white supremacy.
I said it was about white
Democrats will
supremacy.
keep losing if they do that.
All the voters were white supremacists, but it's not about eggs. She said it was about pocketbook issues. It's not about pocketbook issues.
You don't think people were at all motivated by the state of the economy, the cost of living,
Absolutely, but yes, and you're smart enough to know yes, and yes, they were upset about pocketbook issues, and they're also upset about what people are.
They do have an opportunity, but we're treated to sort of similar comments to what Carrie made tonight about race, white supremacy, all of Trump's ideology and people and voters and everything. It's all about white supremacy. This was rejected in the election. Democrats ran this was the animating thing of the Harris campaign, and it was rejected.
Okay.
Was it?
And I am constantly shocked at what you're not aware of, which is Donald Trump's performance.
I'm constantly shocked at what you're not aware of.
I don't know. I tend to be more right about it than you are. But the reality is he did better. He did better among minority voters than any Republican in a half a century.
Yeah,
and he seemed to be totally unaware of it.
But it's also true.
But if you're going to come out and call half the country a white supremacist, I think you've got to explain it.
I didn't say the country. I said this was about white supremacy because what he ran on was making America great again, which is another code word. You like to say woke.
But you're saying the election was about white supremacy.
I'm saying what Trump was about was making sure that he stays that.
It's not even.
So here's yes and like this stern like attitude thing where you're never learning anything. You're totally obtuse. So now there's other ladies there too, who's another ESPN chick or I think she is Ashley Allison. She's another former national director of Biden-Harris.
I do not have the same opportunity as you. I know I don't.
And you know
and
that
I know
too.
let's go.
And you know that.
Let me just tell you about me.
I'm going to let you finish, but I want to answer this.
I'm not talking about how you feel. I'm talking about how I feel. Me, a black woman in this country.
But not in this city.
And I will run. And if you want
I'm a New Yorker, not in this city. You cannot say that. You can't say that in this city. I'm
not talking about New York. I'm talking about Ashley.
Let her finish.
I got a law degree, a master's, and 2 bachelors. Probably more education than all of y'all added up together at this table, right? And I have always been the least paid person on payroll at every institution I have worked in. And it's not because...
Even in the White House?
Even in the White House.
Well, whose fault is that? I don't think you worked for George W. or Trump.
Well, guess what happened when I was there? DEI.
Scott.
So, the reason that she has all the degrees and that she's the least paid person is that nobody desires to work with her because she's self-centered, navel-gazing, a self-important fool.
Yeah.
And she can have all the degrees and this and that. I don't believe that her degrees are credible degrees just by looking and listening to her. And like, where is it said that this like bad behavior, rudeness, self-centered, self-importance, where does that sell outside of, like Yale Law School, sororities for for minority students. I don't like, where does that, who wants that in anywhere within 1,000 yards of them?
In any organization, it's toxic and it's terrible. And it absolutely makes people say, well, if this is the result of DEI, then I don't want the DEI.
Right.
Because, and that's exactly the problem, is that you listen to someone like her talk and you say, wow, I don't think the law degrees that they're handing out are the same as law degrees used to be.
Right.
And it gives people an impression of law degrees and the people who hold them, in particular minority people who hold them, some of whom undeservedly are being tarred with this brush, right? Because the second that you start putting people into degrees, into schools, studying for degrees where they don't belong and can't compete, and then you call into question every degree from that school, particularly the ones from other minority students who did earn the right to be there. And that's what's so, so, so unfair and toxic about this DEI stuff.
I also think that the fact that these schools obviously de-emphasize education, but emphasize identification, means that they go there and then people tell them to own your spaces, to assert yourself. They let everybody know there's a black woman speaking. There's a black woman speaking. There's a black woman speaking. Get in the face of people. Be totally overconfident in your abilities, etc. Be grievance ready. Grievance ready. So this broad goes on to CNN and says, I'm aggrieved. Nobody, I have many degrees and nobody wants to pay me anything. I've always been under, I'm aggrieved. The other lady before that is white supremacy is everywhere. White supremacy is everywhere. It's everywhere. That's what happened. That's what happens. Scott Jennings just goes and delivers good content.
Well, right. And Scott Jennings doesn't talk all about Scott Jennings. Hi, it's me, Ashley Allison. Right. I want to tell you about how much money I've made in my career. Like, no one cares. But there's this emphasis in woke world on lived experience. And, well, my experience is America's full of white supremacy, and I've been held back. And this is an ideology for small-minded, jealous people. And that has nothing to do with race. That's why you see a bunch of small-minded, jealous people glom onto the LGBTQ movement, because that's an easy one to claim membership in if you don't have any other wokeness points in any other direction. You can say like, oh, well, I'm demisexual, whatever. But if you want to go around claiming that you've been held back through factors that are no fault of your own, and there have always been people like this. You and I both know people like this who were like this before woke ideology was a big thing, and who will go on being like this until they die, because some people are just like this. The problem is that they've cloaked just this pettiness, this personal animosity toward the world for holding out on what a brilliant, genius, smart person I am, and I should be a rich person. People should think I'm great when I walk in a room. That they've cloaked it in this mantle of righteousness. No longer is it just that I am important and I'm jealous. I'm not just a petty, grievance-filled, angry, bitter person who's mad that other people are having a life that I'm not having. Now I can cloak it in this wonderful ideology that says that I'm a good guy and that my petty jealousies and angers at the world for not recognizing how great I am are actually a part of a broader social justice movement. So I can now take my personal character flaws, and they're actually a part of my selflessness and moral high ground that I have. That's why people love this ideology. Because it says, like, you see those people over there that have something that you don't have? Well, if you're jealous of them and yell about how they don't have something you don't have, you're no longer just a petty child. You're on the right side of history. You're doing something moral and important and good. If you go outside your job at Starbucks and complain that your manager hasn't asked you how to run the Starbucks better and paid you more and given you a bunch of time off and told you that you're a genius, you're not just, and this isn't about race, that's a lot of white people in the Starbucks usually, by the way, you're not just a selfish, pain in the ass employee who is annoying and nobody wants to work with. you're on the right side of history. You're fighting for the workers' rights. You're fighting
Right.
for the little guy. This is bigger than you. This is about capital J justice.
Right. And I think that another thing it just shows is all these universities that they went to and all these master's degrees, etc., never equipped them to get out and play the game of life.
Of course.
It only equipped them to do this, the grievance routines, the performances. That's it. So, like, before this segment started, neither of these ladies studied it at all. And they never do, and they're never going to have to. Because they're going to go to the same things. That's it.
Because they feel that all they have to do is show up and be their lovely, amazing, talented selves. And if anything ever doesn't work out for them, it has to be because they're Black women and they've been oppressed by the world.
Exactly. Just do the same routine. Don't study. It doesn't matter what the topic is during whatever. You don't have to bring anything to the table.
Why did Kamala Harris lose the election? White supremacy. It was white supremacy. Donald Trump promised to make America great again. That's code for white supremacy. White supremacy.
And as a Black woman with many degrees, I can tell you. Oh, there you go. That's your whole job.
Oh, okay.
That's all you have to. You never have to expand your universe in your mind whatsoever. And you're wondering why people think everywhere that you're a dumbass. It always will, and you will never be paid. Because people only want to pay so much for a overly self-important, small-brained, troublemaking employee.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I've noticed this pattern because I've worked a million jobs. I've worked, at Home Depot overnights. I've worked making pizzas. I've worked selling things in stores. I've worked like all kinds of jobs. And it's the same type of people from like the highest corporate offices down to like the line employees in a department store. There are just some people who always think they're better than what they're being asked to do. Always. And some of them are executives and are way overpaid, and some of them are not. But there's like this similar pattern of behavior where some people just constantly think that life is being unfair to them. And you'll never be a good employee or good at anything if you behave that way.
No. That's why Jamel Hill, who gets, by the way, who anywhere she goes is way overpaid. That's why nothing she does is a success. Because she's never learned to have any skill. Other than bitch and moan and be a certain identity. And that's it.
Right, because she's been told her whole life that her identity bestows everyone around her with this amazing, brilliant... Listen, everybody, a Black woman is speaking. Can you imagine if Condoleezza Rice ever said something like that? What? She's the smartest person in almost every room she ever walks into. And she would never act like that or say anything like that. Can you just freaking imagine?
What about Thomas Sowell?
I know.
A Black person speaking. A Black man is... Thomas Sowell would never...
As a Black man.
Like, Thomas Sowell, the funny thing is, of course, he's not championed at all by progressive culture, and he may be the wisest, smartest American alive today.
Of course not. And it's convenient, too, because especially what they've done with DEI and the education system is so poisonous, because not only has it empowered this whole culture of this stuff to happen, but it's also made a nice, easy excuse for the, by the way, mostly white liberals who run a lot of these city bureaucracies into the ground, including like teachers and teachers unions and stuff. It excuses them from the fact that they've utterly failed to educate generations of children in some of these public school systems. I mean, in Illinois, there are whole school districts where not one child can read at grade level. Like zero.
Yeah.
Zero. And yet all those children are graduating and getting sent to colleges and getting told that they're brilliant. And that lets off the hook all those school officials who are making insane salaries. School administrator salaries are crazy. I mean, like, school teacher salaries are pretty nuts too. But it's crazy, like, that they're all off the hook somehow for having graduating classes full of kids that can't read and write or do basic arithmetic. And they're let off the hook because they then send these students that they've taught to colleges and who and then they're told that they're brilliant and continue to graduate on and send out there with no life skills. It's embarrassing for everybody, but it's a huge disservice to the students that they've sent off into the world thinking this stuff.
Absolutely.
It's not doing them any favors.
No.
And it lets us keep sinking money into these failed systems. The Randy Weingardens of the world get to keep making bank and all the people she represents, and they never have to answer for what they do to generations of kids.
No.
Abject failure. And in a lot of cases, if they would let the teachers do what they wanted to do and not hold them back with these administrative ridiculous systems that they have in place, a lot of cases it would do the students better. Did you ever see the movie Stand and Deliver?
Of course.
Well, that's based on a true story.
Of course.
And that
Joe,
I forgot the teacher's name, but he was in California and he got a bunch of kids who had never been taught any math to be able to pass the AP calculus exam and get them a shot in life, because they could do something, because that's a skill to be able to learn math.
Stand and Deliver.
Yeah, it's a math teacher, and he teaches all
Edward
these
James
kids.
Almost.
And they got accused of cheating, and they had to all retake the test.
Right. I was thinking of the thing with Morgan Freeman.
Yeah, but it's a real story of this math teacher, Jaime Escalante, in California. And that teacher, by the way, was freaking fired and punished.
Of course.
And they got rid of him. And then they tried to continue his program of getting kids to pass AP Calculus without him, and they couldn't do it. And everybody failed at calculus then. So they just went back to doing what they were doing because they couldn't replicate the results of a teacher who knew what he was doing, and who they got rid of because they didn't want to. It highlights their failures if you have people who are good at it come in and teach things. And there are so many cases where good teachers leave the public schools and go to private schools that pay less, by the way, typically. Yes. Because they can do more and make a bigger impact, and they don't have administrators all over bothering them. It's incredible what we've done to public education in this country, and I hope Trump takes an absolute axe to everything. I hope he does.
Oh, totally. It's been fantastic. Some of this is probably redundant. This is Senator Eric Schmidt.
Because you can't really defend this kind of stuff. $45 million for diversity and inclusion scholarships in Burma. $3 million for girl-centered climate action in Brazil. $125 million to racialize public health. $288,000 for diverse birdwatcher groups. USAID, which is in the center of the storm right now, and rightfully so, spent $1.5 billion to, quote, advance diversity, equity, inclusion in Serbia's workplaces and business communities. $70,000 for the production of a DEI musical in Ireland.
So the CEO of Politico came forward today and put out a statement saying we absolutely don't take 1 cent of government money.
Well, except they do.
Of course.
They get paid for a service by the government, but that's how all the grifts work, right? It's like when all these politicians put out books that obviously nobody on earth has ever read.
Right.
And then people donate to their campaign, and then they use campaign money to buy a bunch of their own books, because they're not allowed to just take campaign money, but they can buy the books with their campaign money from themselves, and then, give away the books as prizes, or, have them at events like, oh, our campaign needs to buy a bunch of copies of my book that we can give away at our table, But so it's paying for a service. You're not just taking the campaign money. Every time there's a grift, you're technically paying for something on paper. It's just a question of, is this a service that we, the American people, need to be paying for all these government employees to have a Politico subscription?
Which is just total EPS. Obviously, it is absolute corruption, grift. It's just an envelope full of cash in another way, and they're busted. All of them are busted. I still am astounded that some people actually believe, if you're a person, people around us, people in the neighborhood, people whatever, if you're a person who actually, and it's your own fault, by the way, progressives, those of you online who are complaining, like, I want to ask you if you voted for this. Did you vote for this? Is this what we wanted? This is a private oligarch, and he's going through everything.
The worst ones are the ones that are like forgiving to you.
Right.
I'm not going to ask who you voted for.
Right.
But if you're seeing what's going on now and you're feeling like this isn't what you wanted, the time to fight back is now. They're like, we're going to welcome you back to open arms. Like, no questions asked. You can come join our resistance now. Like, nobody wants to join your resistance.
Well, and also,
people like what's happening now.
Right. And also, like, if you ever mention the words, maybe it's almost a test, Project 2025, then I know, okay, so you came into this never having done the rudimentary groundwork that you needed to do to have adult political conversations.
Mm-hmm.
If that's where you are, Project 2025, there's a bad thing out there that's a huge book that's going to be the directory for evil Trump. It's really going to make it, there's going to be all sorts of work camps and things like that, and they're going to guide us all in them. So if you're new to the fact that the Heritage Foundation and these other think tanks, if you're new to the fact that they have work products and you didn't know that, then go learn that for 5 days and then come back and we can start. It's like amazing. It's amazing. Project 2025. Yeah, it's a think tank work product with a name. It's because 2025 is the year.
The year that, yeah.
Right.
It's okay.
It is so naive. It's like, Elon can't do this and this. Why are these people? They're not licensed. The Congress never said. He's the president. It's the executive branch. It's his branch of government. He can do with these guys what they want. They actually do work for the government now.
Well, right. And, the unelected bureaucrat, like all the bureaucrats in the executive branch have been unelected this whole time.
Right.
And conservatives, by the way, have been talking about this for a really long time.
Right. And can you, for a second, get off blue sky for a second and notice that they're hitting pay dirt. They're finding ways, fraud, and abuse all over the place. But no, you're not into the, look at the entire conversation and take in new facts, etc.
Did you see, by the way, that Panama is letting our ships through for free now?
I saw that, yeah.
So there you go. I mean, like, sorry, Trump keeps racking up wins and, like, you're over here resisting. Like, is there anything in particular that's happening that you're upset about?
Panama's also thrown away its Belt and Road initiatives with China, which is huge. Just huge. The idea that Chinese influence is going to start constricting around the Western Hemisphere is not good.
Yeah. I will give you a weird tweet, though. Eric Erickson?
Of course.
He's sort of
on my radio show. He's on my station.
Oh, okay. A never Trumper guy. He tweeted this today. I just think this is the strangest thing to tweet. My friend's kid's soccer coach is getting deported. Having trouble exercising empathy here. He never attempted to get citizenship. He had the opportunity and turned it down. Didn't think he needed to do anything. Now he's gone.
My goodness. What a tragedy.
Like, first of all, is that even true? Is that fast? That they're just grabbing soccer coaches and now he's gone. Like, what about his mortgage payment? His light? I don't know. Seems like a weird story to me, but also it just seems like a weird thing to tweet. Like, how have you known people who just are like illegal immigrants and haven't bothered, and all of a sudden, and then you're gonna tweet out that you don't feel bad?
Well, right.
It's an odd approach to take.
Well, sure. Also, there are precautions you can take before busting into the United States to make sure you never have to worry about ICE.
Yeah.
There's a way to do it. There's a whole process made sure that you can come in and you don't have to worry about ICE. Soccer coach. God, shut up.
It's incredible. But, I mean, I do think it's funny. So J.K. Rowling tweeted about the men and women's sports belt thing, and she's tweeted essentially I hope you're happy, liberals, that that you all enabled this image to be out here with Trump with all the smiling girls, and essentially saying the left abandoned women. Like, you let this happen, right? Because she doesn't support Trump, and she doesn't want that picture to be out there of Trump, like, protecting women and all that stuff, because she doesn't see him as the good guy. But it's funny because, like, eventually, if the left doesn't give up this downward spiral, which they could back away from their downward spiral. Some of them want to, obviously, but you know, if they don't back away from the downward spiral, the right, like, could win over the J.K. Rowlings and these other people that have a halfway
you get a more palatable
bone.
Trump, a more palatable Trump. Maybe Vance is the guy. I mean, it's the same thing with what's going on with the CNN people, with the Yes, Slay Queen women, etc. That's a tiny island of people who want to identify with that person, who think like that person, who say white person, white boy, like Crockett says, you know, throws around white. Which is, by the way, anybody hears that knows that they're hearing overt, ugly racism.
Right.
And too many white people do this. You know, the old white man was like, okay, that's fine. But it's racist coming out of a Klansman's mouth. It's racist coming out of a spoiled, overeducated congressman in Crockett's mouth. You know?
Of course.
People don't want this. And you're right. The Democratic Party now, it's a party of tiny niche issues, which the American people are totally against. Here's Harry Anton.
I think these numbers are really illuminating on this topic because I just think there's such a clear trend among the American public. So transgender female athletes in women's sports, only 18% of the country says that they should be, in fact, allowed to participate in women's sports. Compare this to the opposition. I mean, my goodness gracious, 79%. You rarely get 79% of the country to agree on anything, but they...
And the other major political party in this country is with the 18%.
Of course they are.
We stand firmly with the 18.
Of course they are. And I mean, people feel it's the same with, like, illegal immigration stuff. It's the same with voter integrity stuff. There are a whole bunch of issues that the only reason the Democratic Party has been able to stake out the positions that they have is because they've been helped by an establishment Republican Party that has also not taken the popular position of the American people. So you take something like, you know, illegal immigration that, and I don't know what the current numbers are off the top of my head, but, you know, it's almost universal that people feel that if you come to the country illegally and you commit crimes, you should be deported.
Yes.
And the Democratic Party not only has been opposed to taking that approach, but also the Republican Party for years has been opposed to taking that approach. So the fact that you have Trump come in and just do this thing, it's the same with, like, I hope they're gonna do, like, a national voter ID or something. Oh, you know, that everyone wants there to be voter ID. Of course there should be voter ID. Obviously there should be voter ID. Everyone knows this. It's hugely popular across all races. The only reason the Democratic Party has been able to so vehemently oppose it and say that for some reason voter ID is a threat to democracy is because the Republican Party is also not stuck to their guns for a voter ID or anything else, right? Like, the Democratic Party has decided to go down with the ship of really unpopular positions.
Well, yeah, and I think another reason is that 5 years ago, they could win every issue as long as it was Trump facing.
Right.
And the numbers have switched on that now. It's not operative anymore.
We do, in fact, agree on the idea of opposing transgender female athletes in women's sports. But it's not just the here and now, Laura. It's not just the here and now. What we're actually seeing is a trend on this particular issue, and it's going in the direction of opposition. So take a look here. Okay, transgendered female athletes, and amongst those Americans who oppose them in women's sports. Back in 2021, it was 62%. A majority, but, you know, not anywhere close to a ginormous majority, right? A clear majority, but not a ginormous majority. But then again, you look here in 2025, you see it at 79%. So it's not just that the majority of Americans are opposed to transgender female athletes in women's sports. It's that the opposition has become considerably larger in just the last 4 years.
So there we go. I mean, it's amazing. What happened to that party? Like, they're suddenly just gone. It's suddenly like the wigs are gone. It's like, wasn't the wig party meeting here? That doesn't. It's gone now.
Well, I mean, in some places. In Massachusetts, it still feels like the Republican Party's gone. So, you know, and a lot of our friends and neighbors are still like fully drunk on Kool-Aid right now.
We're hiding the illegals. Okay.
But I look forward to the day when the sentiment creeps in here, which I have to assume like someday it will. Someday people will catch up, even here in Massachusetts.
I don't know if they will. I mean, who knows? I'm so looking at Facebook community pages tells me that there's
a lot of people are dug in.
Yeah, there's something deeply and emotional and deeply. By the way, I know a couple of these people on the Facebook community pages as well. I know for a fact that a couple of them are full-time employed somewhere. And like just spending this time, you know, copying and pasting these emergency directions. Exactly.
Like, call your senator. Like, okay.
All right.
The problem is for them that there's just not any. There's not like a quorum of panicked people. There's no longer this critical mass of people that are as panicked as they are. After Trump won in 2016 and he was inaugurated in 2017 and there were like the women's marches and everything, there was sort of there was a big group of people, a lot of people who were panicked.
Right.
This time, the panicked group is so much smaller that I don't think they can, you know, gin up the same amount of energy that they had back then.
No, and I see them trying, and I know a woman I used to work with in the radio 20 years ago. I see her trying and saying, okay, a bunch of you guys who voted MAGA have reached out to me and now regret your vote. I understand, but you have to do extra work then now. But you know, like now you can see it's like that didn't happen. It's not. You're having to make pretend. Imagine that like this piece of validation that you so yearn for is happening.
Do you know? I mean, and I admittedly, like my friend group is probably people that are more politically engaged than most. But do you know literally anybody who voted for Trump who's regretting it right now?
No.
I don't know a single person who's regretting a Trump vote at the moment.
No. And it's not all like been perfect. Like, you know, once again, his, you know, talking about DEI in the plane crash, you know, during that pressure was not a good look.
No.
You know, and
but does anybody honestly think that having Kamala there right now would be better for America?
No. I think people are willing to tolerate it. I think that I was absolutely unmoved and in fact kind of inspired by the fact that we're going to own Gaza very soon. Because something like Gaza, which is a total mess and a total cluster bleep, and the whole thing has been for at least 40 years, really probably 80 years, it's like nothing else has worked. Why not? Just say something. See what happens. See what the reaction to it is. And he did. And people like talked about it, used it, at least pieces of it, to have debates about the subject. Why not?
Well, right. But there's also like not the energy even in the news, and you see the reporters complaining like, we can't cover it, it's too much news. Like they don't even have the time or energy anymore to go all out on this stuff. If this were 8 years ago, I guess, they'd be freaking out about every little thing. Oh my God, can you believe he said? And some of them are like still trying to do that, but it just feels pathetic. It doesn't even feel the same.
Well, the funny thing is, Alice, is if they had the House to the left, he'd be impeached by now.
Of course.
Absolutely.
Right.
Under like the Doge is doing, it's like, I don't know. It's amazing. All right. Should we do the chat?
Yeah, I guess let's jump to the chat. What a week. Another exciting week. Snowstorm out there. Another snowstorm this weekend. School was canceled today.
School was canceled today. My neighbor plowed our driveway because I'm such a bitch that I never got to it and I never did the thing. But yeah.
You know, sometimes if you're pathetic enough for long enough, other people step in.
I know.
Splash in the chat says he'd drink cheap white wine at Applebee's with Kamala and he thinks he could close the deal.
All right, ready?
She does seem fun.
Yeah, fun.
Like fun to hang with.
Did you watch any of the 60 Minutes?
No,
stuff?
like I heard about it. Her talking about her allergies.
Yeah.
Like
she doesn't come off hateable.
No, I don't think
just
she really is
who
hateable.
you think she is. She's boxed wine. She doesn't know what she's doing. She's getting through.
She didn't really want to be president.
No, she's getting through.
Hillary Clinton wanted to be president.
Too much.
You can feel her still on Twitter wanting to be president. She's dying to be president. Kamala Harris did not want to be president. Like, absolutely not. Yeah, Splash says we're supposed to get 3 feet of snow over the next 2 weeks. Because there's supposed to be 8 inches Sunday. And then, like, more, is it Tuesday, Wednesday? Midweek, there's more snow. Make more sounds, honey. That'll make it stop.
Freaking hate it.
Isn't it wonderful and refreshing to watch a Caroline Leavitt press conference?
Yes.
This woman is unbelievably articulate. She's knowledgeable, good rapport, good mannerisms. She answers all the questions. There's no excuse making from her. And it just feels like it's total night and day from the KJP press conferences. And, I'm sure whoever Kamala would have hired would have told us absolutely nothing had she have won. So I hope, Caroline Leavitt stays on throughout President Trump's tenure, because having her tell us what's going on in Washington and what the president is doing is just amazing. The accountability is top notch.
I like Caroline Leavitt. I want her to stay for 2 years, and then I want to find a really good, competent black woman. So we can because what we did with KJP, it's like, really the first one, and you find this person, you find this clown,
the worst
the
person
first
in the
one
world.
is
Right.
the worst one. It's like, no, find a good conservative black spokesperson. Sage Steele. Get Sage Steele out there, and we'll start all over, and it'll be like the least we can do to black women who are smart and successful all over the place and are represented in marquee situations terribly in this country. Terribly. Imagine all the city councilors and mayors and all these, freaking Fannie Willis. It's like, God, it sucks. If you're a legit, smart, or successful black woman, you're just, the brand is being just blown up by these midwit psychos everywhere.
I agree. And by the way, it's not just a problem with black women. In Massachusetts, we have all kinds of shady, horrible government employees.
Yes.
Of various stripes who are hacks, midwits, corrupt, absolutely shameless.
Yes.
Stupid Boston accents.
To be honest, that started with white men. So let's
it's a well-known problem, but the second people get into government, it just attracts the worst of the worst.
Oh, it's rough.
Hi, Steve from Merrimack.
Hey, Steve.
Ashley Allison and that incredible rant on CNN, I guess from last night with Scott Jennings and the lawyer guy. I think his first name's Arthur. He used to be on Fox News all the time.
Yeah.
Going back and forth about it. I have one practical question. Ashley, how on earth would you know that you were the lowest paid employee at every institution you ever worked for? Did any of these institutions have, I don't know, janitorial staff? Did they have secretaries? This woman was, talking about, apparently she's got 2 bachelor's degrees, a law degree, and a master's. I call BS on the 2 bachelor degrees. Did she do a double major? Is that what she did?
That's probably what
But
she means.
the idea that this person, how would you know? If you worked in the private sector, how on earth would you know you're the lowest paid employee? What'd you do? Call HR? Yes, I'd like to see a list of all the employees and their salaries, and I want to see where I rank. You would get fired. You'd get run out of town on a rail for such a request. All they do is lie. Every moonbat. It's just lies, lies, lies. It's unbelievable. 125.
Well, you know what? Maybe it's part of the Lilly Ledbetter Act. Maybe there's disclosure now where you can see what number you are getting paid. I love that. How come I keep getting underpaid?
It's so embarrassing to go out there and whine that you're not being paid enough. Like, I know I keep harping on them, but it's just so petty and small.
Am I trying to go on the radio tomorrow and say that I'm the least paid talk show host in North America? I'm the lowest paid talk show host. Tom Shattuck here, your lowest paid talk show host in North America.
Sadly for the radio industry, I don't even think that's true. I don't even.
Think Tom,
how dare you? How dare you suggest things aren't robust?
Tom, I haven't been commenting, but I'm so sorry to hear about your menopause. It's terrible. Yeah, that's what happens when you get older. Sometimes it's early. It can happen. Low testosterone causes this, and it could be the cold. You don't know.
Yeah.
But you should use Alice's golden ticket healthcare plan to get checked out and maybe see if you have low testosterone. Because
first of all, there's no doubt there's low testosterone because there's no testosterone.
You don't feel anything.
But let me tell you this, Dr. Sheswick. It was there 10 days ago. It is.
But you're not going to a doctor to check anything.
Freak, no. It's gone. So the guy can rate me again. Okay, that was good, Tom. I'm not sure we can do about your penis. Sorry. She's like, while he's smoking. It's like, yeah. No, I don't know. I don't know what it is. I told my neighbor today. I feel the least that I could do since he
it was complaining to him about your low
since he snow blew. Is that what it's called? I told him, Dan, I no longer like women. And he said, huh? And I said, no, I don't. Doesn't mean I don't like men. Am I like trying to be interesting now? Like, this is my LGBT thing, like where I'm non-binary.
You're coming out to everybody.
I'm demisexual. Like,
yeah.
I'm find me interesting.
Yeah, you need a marginalized identity. You're now under the LGBTQ plus umbrella. Asexual is one of them.
Oh, here we go.
The A.
Here we go.
LGBTQIA. That's you.
You have to play along or else I'd kill myself, Alice.
Those blue pills only work for one thing. They don't help fix the underlying issue.
I have the blue pills. I know. They're going to waste, Alice.
I know, because you don't even feel the need to take because you don't want to do
why would I
that.
take it? For what? It's like bestiality. Doesn't make any sense. Like how is your log looking?
Not good. Not good. The log is a lot of empty days on the log.
A lot of hash marks.
Mm-hmm.
And if it is low T, you're going to want to get some kind of assistance because it can also cause mental deficiencies. You can start losing your memory or have trouble finding words, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. 57.
How dare you? How dare you? All of you. Dare you? I thought Tim from Canton said he left a message today. I'm not seeing it if he left a message today.
Tom.
Yes.
Tom. Goodbye.
How dare you harangue me, man, in my dotage.
Hi, Steve from Merrimack.
Hey, Steve.
Another thing about this Ashley Allison, whatever her name is, Scott Jennings, and that guy Arthur thing from last night, where she's claiming she's been the lowest paid employee at every institution she's worked at.
Yes.
There's nothing more toxic in the workplace than discussion of salaries among employees.
True.
One of my stepsons worked in he's a younger guy. Now he's like 31. But he was telling me a few years ago about sitting around at work and everybody was talking about their salaries. And I just said, you're crazy to do that. That is like the first thing HR will do is fire you for doing that stuff. It creates tension in the workplace. It's toxic. It's completely toxic.
Totally.
Who gives a crap what anybody else is making? Just keep your head down, do your job, and if you're good at your job, the money will come.
Yeah.
And if the money doesn't come, go elsewhere and take the skills that you've learned. But oh my God,
It's amazing.
That stuff drives me crazy. Thank you. 115.
Yeah, it's if you're worth it, then another company will pay you more. Like that's just how this goes. Companies don't routinely underpay people because then they lose employees. And then the company fails because, and I've seen this in action, terrible employees lead to a dysfunctional workplace.
Oh, totally.
You cannot have a successful company with bad employees. And so if you drive away good employees and you, with low pay or with the toxic work environment or whatever, and you indulge petty, annoying people like this, like you have a death spiral for our company. That's all. Like that, there's just no way you can be successful and have that.
Well, but also, what does it also say about you? Let's say it's all true. Looking past the fact that it's incredibly bad form to ever bring something like that up, then why are you getting underpaid everywhere? Like, what about you is
you suck.
Yeah, what about you is so freaking weak that you're accepting every offer of a low ball?
Yeah, you can't. There's not companies that want to bring you on. And of course, it's not true. I mean, obviously. But if anything, companies right now are dying to bring on more diverse candidates and are competing with each other to bring them on and paying them more, if anything.
Right.
Like, I thought that from the second she first said, like, I have less opportunity than you, Scott Jennings. Like, that's actually the opposite of true. And that's the case for everything from college applications to law school applications to med school applications to job applications, all of them. All of them are dying to bring in diverse candidates. Like, you ever see those news stories around, like, college admission time? And they do, like, the human interest stories where there's a kid who gets into, like, 17 really elite schools.
I don't know.
You don't see those news stories? Well, somebody will know what I'm talking about because they happen every year. They're like, student gets into all the Ivy Leagues, plus MIT, plus whatever. Like, and always, without fail, it's a black student. Right? And not a knock on them because they're probably an awesome student and all this stuff to get into all those schools. But they're like virtually guaranteed a spot. Whereas for particularly like an Asian student, it's an absolute crapshoot because there's a gazillion other Asian students. Like these schools and these workplaces are all dying to bring in black candidates who are well qualified. So if you're a great employee, they are not underpaying you.
Right.
It's absolutely like the most ridiculous on its face assertion that could exist in the world, but whatever.
Yeah. I remember when I got hired, right? So the way in radio you make any money is you switch stations because your station, especially if you're in programming, they know how badly people want to be in programming, and they're like, we'll just pay this guy $21,000, and he's going to take it because he's in there where the studios are.
Yeah, and if not, we'll pay the producer $20,000 to do his job for him.
Exactly. So they know it. So if you're in programming, you got to go to another station. That's how you go. You hop up from side to side, and that's how you get paid more. So when I was at WRKO, I applied. I think I said this the other day.
There's a news story about this.
Yeah, right. But I went to I joined the competition as the executive producer. I joined the competition, and they hired me. I forgot something. They hired me like at $55,000 or whatever, and they said, "Okay." She said, "Okay, I'm gonna make." She makes me the offer on the phone, $55,000, and I said like something like, "Yeah, I'd be much more comfortable at like 58 to 50." By the way, in radio for programming, 55,000 is like 600,000. You are like, "Oh my God, I thought I was rich." And I remember I said, "Can you?" She said, "Okay, I can try to get you that extra, but." I mean, I don't think they're going to say yes. So I have very low confidence. And she said, "Do you want me to try?" I said, "Yeah, please, if you don't mind." And I remember, so she hung up with me, and I was in the freaking fetal position, counting the minutes by, saying, "Oh my God, please.
I screwed this up."
Yeah, oh God. But she called back and said, "Okay, you're not going to get, we're not paying for your cell phone, but you get your $3,000, whatever." I was like, whew. But I mean, that's kind of how you do it. And I realize I'm dealing with pennies, but still, you have to advocate for yourself because nobody else is going to advocate for you whatsoever.
Yeah, and places try and screw you, and that's not unique to black women. Like,
right?
When I interviewed for a job, like a year ago, I interviewed for this one job, and I interviewed for it because they told me they were going to pay like certain X salary. They were like, oh, well, just, this is a salary. We can't go higher than this. Do you still want to interview? And I said, like, yeah, I'll interview. It was a little lower than like what I was asking, but I was asking, I highballed my asking number. So I was like, okay, I'll interview for that. So I interviewed, never heard anything. And so then I just reached out and I was like, oh, I just wanted to touch base and hear if you had any feedback from the interview. And they said, oh, the interview went really great, but you wanted this really high number, right? And they quoted a number that was like $30,000 less than what they told me the job paid.
Right.
And they were like, oh, yeah, like that's a pretty high number for us, but we can try to get up there if you want us to ask. And I was like, you said the job paid like this. And they were like, oh, no, must be a misunderstanding. Like we can only pay that. And it was like a huge difference. It wasn't an accident or a mistake. They just friggin' made up a new number. Right. Yeah. And then they reposted the job like a day later. And I was like, okay. But
it's because you're black.
They try and screw you every which way. Like
exactly.
You can't. You have to fight for anything and like not put up with stuff. I don't get it. Like, where's this attitude that I should just be a black woman and walk into places and they should just all fall down and offer me the highest salary in the building?
Right. And I also think it's the same thing with sometimes when it's time to leave a job, it's about you stabbing them before they stab you. And it might be cold and inconvenient for them, but you've got to fend for yourself, bro.
Thank you so much for listening, everybody. Thanks for joining us in the live chat. Splash, Linda, Mick, Mark, Phil. So many people in there. Appreciate you all joining us. If you want to join us every day for the Burn Barrel live chat, that's patreon.com/Burn Barrel. There's also some extra content there each week. There is an ad-free RSS feed if you like listening ad-free. All good things. Or if you like listening for free, burnbarrelpodcast.com.
C'est la vie.